these live is so that you can see there's no edits, there's no script. Well, this one there's a little script. I got a little sticky note just so I don't forget the points that I want to make. But we're going to deep dive on another topic today. And today we're talking about your word, like keeping your word, why you should or shouldn't do it. And for the person watching this video, if you clicked on something like this, or maybe you're just watching me live and you have trouble keeping your word, or even if you don't most of the time, you need to understand why keeping your word 100% of the time is literally the most important thing that you could do. You have to do it. It's arguably more important than your physical health, right? Like you're going to see some of these points that I'm going to make. And I'm going to give some examples of how I've used keeping my word to change my life directly. This is my business that I run. I wouldn't have a business if I wasn't able to keep my word, right? I tell people I'm going to get them the results, and then I get them the results. I'm there on time every single time, and I don't break promises, right? And promises are a whole nother thing because you shouldn't have to make promises if you always keep your word, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyways, let's get right into it. So, there's three different things that are affected by you keeping your word or not keeping your word. So I wrote them down here so I didn't forget. The first one is self-esteem. Second one is reputation. And the third one is your literal life, like your literal life, the things you have. That's what literal means. The things you have, the results you get, the people you know, it affects everything. And those are in order of importance as well, in my opinion. So self-esteem is the most important because, if it was just you on an island and there was none of these external factors judging you or affecting how you live your life, then the only important thing is your self-esteem, like how you choose to enjoy your life and how you feel about yourself. The second most important one is reputation. I picked that because once you have a reputation, it's very sticky. So it's really hard to break a bad reputation. Uh, Sad to say, but my father is a perfect example of this. You know, some of you guys might be able to relate to this, but when my dad says he's going to be somewhere or do something, it's sad to say, but it's almost like laugh worthy if he's actually going to be there. You can almost like count on it not to happen just because he said it, right? So that is a perfect example of a bad reputation and a result of not keeping your word. Can you have a shout out? Okay, so this guy named No, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna shout you out. All right. Yeah, drop any questions if you got them in the chat. We just got 9 people who joined. We're talking about how keeping your word or not keeping your word directly impacts your life and your results. Yeah, and then the least important but still very important concept is your literal life. So keeping your word directly impacts your results in life, the things that you have, the relationships you have, who you know, who you love, how they love you. Like keeping your word affects absolutely every single thing in your literal life. So we're going to deep dive into the first one, which is self-esteem. All right. So that everybody can relate to this. There's times when you told someone that you'd be somewhere, you go to their birthday or you'll be there at 5 o'clock or, you've told somebody something and then you were late or you didn't show up and you had to make some kind of excuse. Something came up, right? So things like that, it's like, yeah, sure, the other person's going to be upset, but simply because you broke your word, you're going to know that you're that kind of person, right? Like you can say that you're going to do things, but there's always that doubt. There's always that, what if something comes up? And that's what happens when you're somebody who doesn't keep their word, right? So you have lower self-esteem. You can't even really have good self-esteem because you don't trust yourself. And I think that's the most important thing for any human being is that they trust themselves, right? Because that's like self-belief. You can have goals, but if you don't believe in yourself, you don't trust yourself, then you're always going to find a way to mess things up, right? So yeah, I guess that kind of sums up self-esteem. there's a ton of other things that go into these things, but I try to keep these videos to below 10 minutes. So the second thing is reputation. So after self-esteem, the next most important thing is reputation, because it's really hard to build a good reputation and it's very easy to destroy a reputation. And even worse, if you have a bad reputation, it's almost impossible to get a good one, right? If you have a bad reputation, you could literally be doing all the right things, but it's just going to take like years and years and years for them to forget that old bad reputation of yours. So this is why keeping your word is the most important thing in your life. I always like to use the example when I'm talking about keeping your word is for the Christians out there. What's the first line in the Bible, or the first line in many versions of the Bible, right? It's at the beginning there was the Word, right? It's literally the first thing God used to create uh, the earth and the universe. He used the Word, and that's what we're talking about. So if that doesn't show you how important keeping your word is, then I honestly don't know what will. You will find out based on your reputation. Whether you want to ignore it or not, you have a reputation, right? Whether it's good or bad. You know if it's good or bad. Like, let's be honest. So, how keeping your word affects your reputation. So just imagine this is two people. There's one person who always keeps their word. You know, they say they're going to be there. They're going to be there, and they're going to be there 10 minutes early every single time. You just don't know how they do it. It's like nothing comes up in their life. You can always count on this person, right? Because they keep their word and they've never failed you. You might have someone like that, and if you do, you should honestly like model that person, because not a lot of people do. But if you don't have that person, then you probably know somebody or multiple people like the other person, which is somebody who consistently does not keep their word, right? For me, a person like this is my father. So people say things. They say they're going to be there. They say they're going to be there at 5 o'clock, and 5 minutes before the event, they text, nowhere to be found, or something came up. I'll come next time, right? Or I know I said I was going to help you move. Sorry about that. Something came up. It's like every single time a person like that says something, you could almost count on it not to be true, right? And if that's not a good example of a bad reputation, then I don't know what is. And that just results from not keeping your word, right? I'm sure there's other factors that go into reputation, but honestly, the most powerful one is your word, right? Because I try to always keep my word. I honestly think I'm very good about it. And you should not give your word unless you know you can keep it. That's another thing. If you're unsure, you need to make that very clear that you're unsure, and only speak your word when you know that you can keep your word, right? So I only speak my word when I know absolutely sure that I can keep my word, right? And I don't cancel. I don't do any of that, because I have a lot of those other people in my life that are like bad reputation, and I just don't want to be like those people, right? I don't want to have their results in life, so I'm just not interested in living their life. So I choose to keep my word, right? And I basically force it into existence. And that's why I have a really good reputation and people want to work with me, right? Over 200 happy customers in my business, and they can all say, like, I promised them a result and I got them the result, right? Go on Google's junk stars. I got a bunch of 5-star reviews. It does not happen by accident, I'll tell you that. So anyways, the third most important thing, and the last one after your word affecting your self-esteem and your word affecting your reputation, is everything else in life. So I wrote down here, keeping your word affects your literal life. So your results, basically. Like, how does your life look right now? If you don't like how your life looks right now, you should honestly like audit how well you have been keeping your word. Because nobody likes to be around somebody who doesn't keep their word, right? All the words that they're spouting is just like lies, basically, because they never keep their word. You can't even trust that person. And that's where it really gets ugly. And we already talked about this in the reputation, but you really want to avoid that, because it's almost impossible to fix something like that, right? And it takes a long time, which is why it's so hard, to be honest. But keeping your word It's your entire reputation and your self-esteem. And those two factors, they affect everything in your life, right? Do you think somebody with really low self-esteem that never keeps their word is going to get a high-paying job or be able to, have a happy family life? They're always lying to their family and basically just living a lie. Like, it's impossible if you really think about it through. Like, think what that person's life would look like. And if you're actually thinking through this right now, watching this, I would picture yourself living that kind of life and just be repulsed by it, because I know you do not want to be that kind of person if you're watching this, right? The people who watch my videos are really into self improvement and learning because we want the best lives possible. So, yeah, just imagine yourself like unable to keep your word, just things keep coming up. You're this person that you really don't want to be, and life just sucks, right? And that's for good reasons, because you never keep your word, and that's your damn fault. So, if I got to give you one takeaway for this, it's to always keep your word, right? That is the only way to build self-esteem. It's the only way to build a great reputation, and it's the only way to improve your literal life, right? God created the earth and the universe with the word, right? In the beginning there was the. Okay, hopefully that didn't end the stream. Okay. Yeah, that's going to end it for this one. Thanks for watching. Comment down below any topics you want me to deep dive on, and I'll be sure to help you out. See you guys in the next one.